Today, as you saw, we're going to be talking about the legendary Hulk Hogan, man, the myth, the legend, may he rest in peace. A very interesting figure in the public eye, not only in wrestling, politics as well, and in a lot of people's eyes, whether good or bad, a very prominent figure. And I'm going to tell a story about when, and if you saw the picture from the video, yes, I did get a chance to have a picture with him. And what was interesting is, it was around that time he released his beer, and he was going to promote it to town, and he was coming to Oklahoma around that time. And me and my brother heard about the store that he was going to be at earlier that day in December. Decided we were going to go get in line, get a signed case of his beer. Not open it or drink it or anything, because we don't drink at all in our family. And man, it was a weird day at first, because we literally sat there for, I would say, an hour and a half, and it was strange. We were expecting him to show up there, and he didn't, because apparently he showed up earlier already and ended up having to go to the next store. We did that after we stood in line after like an hour and a half and left to go to the next place. We went over there, and there was barely anybody over there. We saw a couple of people that we recognized. I went alongside my little brother, and we got in there to help us get through, and set everything up. We saw Jimmy Hart, his old manager, and wow, man, I'm just remembering this as we're going along. And ironically enough, I'm actually going to be passing by it in just a second, where it was located. I didn't even think about it. But yeah, I'm actually literally about to pass by the place where we first saw him. And this is like several months before he passed away, of course, in August. Unfortunately, may he rest in peace. May he rest in peace. It is unfortunate we lost him. And being able to just see his manager there, and then eventually himself there, and actually get to shake the man's hand and take a picture with him was amazing. Won't lie to you, it was the most nerve-wracking thing I had done, because it was the first time I actually genuinely met someone technically that famous, and especially a wrestling legend. And for some of you, I already know you're not too happy with the way he's been. I know the history he's had, the things that he's done in and out of the ring. It's not great, especially some of the history he's made with his family, unfortunately, or very infamous history with his daughter Brooke, having that recording come out. And I'm not a huge fan of that myself, but I will say this: every man is going to make a mistake, but it's your choice on how you leave a legacy. And he left in-ring legacy for a lot of people, a really good one. Out of it, unfortunately, it was a mess. It was controversial. It was sad. It was mostly about, keeping himself at the top at the time, especially in the late 80s and early 90s. Was a very, very particular fellow. particular. He was very particular with who he wanted to lose to. He didn't want to lose to everybody. He was pretty much the main draw for WWF at that time, which is now WWE, if you don't know. Especially when it came to Bret Hart. I know look, I like Bret Hart. I enjoy his stuff. Heck, I think he's genuinely a better wrestler than Hogan. Genuinely. However, with the clip that I saw with Ric Flair recently, he explains that the reason why the Montreal Screwjob happened is because, well, basically Bret wasn't making money. He wasn't a Hulk Hogan, despite his skill. Look, mind you, a lot of people are going to say, why are you saying that? He was like an extremely popular wrestler back then. But the unfortunate thing was, after Hogan left and he became the champion, he wasn't drawing as much money as you thought. You see, in the world of wrestling, back then, it wasn't just about the character. It wasn't just about your in-ring ability. It was also the money you could draw in. And especially when it came to Vince, somebody like Hulk Hogan could do that. He is like the main attraction. He is the attraction star. He is the main eventer for a reason. And a lot of people are going to hate hearing that because it's like, well, he did this, and this. It's like, yes, he did. He did all that. I acknowledge that. And it got to his head, and he let it get to his head. Now, mind you, there's also circumstances, well, other moments, not circumstances, where he actually was able to, he actually wanted to put over somebody. Like, for example, if you've watched Busted Open, or what is it? It was an interview with Bubba Ray, and I don't know if it was on Busted Open or not, but it was an interview he had with somebody. And he told him something about an interaction between him and Hogan during the times when TNA was going towards Impact. And he said, and if I get the story right, it goes like, it's after a match. Bubba's going down the hallway. Hogan's coming in, starts walking up to him. And it kind of gets close. Hogan gets kind of close to Bubba. And I think the way he worded it, with him being the heel, he backed away a little bit. And Hogan said this, "What are you doing?" It's like, well, what? And I think he was confused by his question. I was like, and I think he said something along the lines, I'm here to make you look good, sir, or something like that. And I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. I don't know all of the interview. I need to take a look at the clip again. And Hogan says, "No, I'm here to make you look good." And which surprises me, because I genuinely was surprised that with all the history he's had and all the people he didn't want to put over, and especially with the Ultimate Warrior situation, if you know about that, that's a mess. That's an absolute mess. They didn't even make up until like 2013, 2014. It took them that long, which is sad. But I also, from what I understand, there's also certain circumstances where he's had good interactions with wrestlers. Heck, I mean, if y'all know who Maven Huffman is, shout out to Maven Huffman, by the way, one of the best wrestling YouTubers out there, alongside Devon Dudley, the other half of the Dudley boys. Maven, I don't quote me on this story, but pretty much had a great interaction with him as well. Got a picture for his kid. And honestly, it's cool. I mean, I'm glad people have had good interactions with him. but it's kind of sad there's also been a lot more bad interactions with some people. Not a lot of people really like Hulk, especially when he worked with Bischoff, especially during the WCW days and the Impact days. That's the sad, unfortunate truth, and especially with him not wanting to retire around that time. Kind of sucks as well. But with all that in mind, I want to say this. He has left a great history. He has left a template for a lot of different people to take, to be molded by, or change, to make it more, to make it different, to have a new person. And I believe that template was given to Cena, and I believe Cena is the better version of Hulk Hogan, because you hear in and out of the ring, he is such a wonderful person. And he's had his moments, but he's a human being, just like anybody else. And the fact that we hear such a much better situation between him in and out of the ring is great. And I think the fact that we got people like Cena that see people like Hogan and are like, okay, this is the guy I grew up with, and I've heard everything that I needed to hear, so I need to do better than he did. And that's what I really appreciate about Hogan's legacy. He set a legacy. He sets footsteps for people to follow to make new ones. Whether he knew it or not, he created something for somebody to follow. And I believe one of those guys is John Cena. I believe one of those guys is Cody Rhodes. I don't know necessarily about Roman Reigns, but in a way, he followed the footsteps a little bit, in a way. And then there's other guys, plenty of other guys who've seen where he's walked and said, no, I'm going to go in this direction because I believe this will do better here. And of course, I think one of those people definitely is probably CM Punk, which I'm honestly looking forward to talking about him. He's become one of my favorites as of late. Well, not as of late. Well, yeah, I guess I'll say as of late. But when it comes to Hogan, I will always have a special place in my heart for him. And I am very glad he has had the opportunity to give his heart to the Lord. And even in everything that he did, in everything he was still human. He still needed something in his life to fill that emptiness in his heart. And mind you, I say this with every ounce of awareness of who he was and where he is now. I believe he's up in heaven and enjoying time with the people that have passed on. Whether as a wrestler, whether as a normal human, a normal person, whatever it might be. That's what I believe. And genuinely, when I think of Hulk Hogan, I don't just think about the big muscles. I don't think about the politicalness that he's put himself into. I think of the guy who set a standard. He set the mold. I think of the guy who made the mistakes for everyone to see, to show what fame can do to somebody. And I don't believe he did it intentionally. I believe he just had a messed up choices as a famous person. Because, look, we can go into detail about how he had this or this, like the TV show, the time he was a movie star after quitting WWF at the time for the first time. And then eventually just being a part of WCW and becoming a heel, which is genuinely, I still think, for a baby, one of the biggest baby faces in the business is amazing. And matter of fact, I might go into more detail about Hogan another time, especially with that heel turn. But when I think of Hulk Hogan, I think of the red and yellow. I think of the things he always said: say your prayers and eat your vitamins, stuff like that. The things that he left with people that are still, enjoy what he does. And I think the fact of that But people were hurt hearing that he said certain things behind the scenes. Tells you how much of an impact he left. Not saying it was a good thing. Heck, I think it's one of the dumbest choices he ever made, especially since it's on a recording. That's crazy. That's genuinely crazy. With all that being said, I think this might be a little bit of a shorter video today, but I figure, you know what? I at least talk about him for a little bit, and I believe there'll probably be a part 2. And I'm going to talk a little bit about his wrestling, his heel turn, the people he's wrestled, and a little bit more of the controversial history. And if you want to hear more about it, let me know in the comments down below. And thank you for spending some time listening to me ramble about Hulk Hogan for a little bit. And I thank you guys for paying attention. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.